Wow. Bless you. It's not just the UK, no. Oh, Carol, my love. Yeah, I want to... Oh, bless you, Joanne. Not a problem. I don't want anyone to be feeling upset or, triggered by anything. Oh, bless him, Mama Fran. I just think it's really important to discuss. It's like I said yesterday, we're always focused on the donor's family, and rightly so, and also the fact that they've given the gift of life to somebody else. But there's so many other things to have to process, even if as a recipient there's so many things to process. So yeah, we shall crack on with that. Mickey, watch your words, no swearing. Right, I'm about to invite you on. Take a deep breath. Go.
No swearing. I'm going to have to keep reminding myself of this. You put me on the spot now.
Go for it, lovely.
Right. There is a story leading up to how and why I needed a transplant, and I do appreciate it is a triggering story. If anybody gets triggered, I will stop talking about the whys, because I do completely understand. Basically, when I was, trigger warnings already, when I was 4 to 7 years old, I was SA'd by a family member. I didn't tell anyone until I was 18, but that comes later on in the story. At 9 years old, I developed type 1 diabetes. And obviously, knowing what had happened to me by that age and knowing it was wrong, instead of hurting myself in a way that people could see, I didn't take my insulin. I made myself very, very, very poorly. I was in and out of hospital every week. It got to a point they were getting me taxis from the hospital to school and then back to the hospital after school because I was missing. My percentage of school in 1 year was 37%. It was really bad, and obviously everyone always questioned whether I was doing this to myself. I always denied it. I didn't want anyone to know anything. At one point they gave me 3 years to live because of all of this, and it still didn't stop. I think in my brain I just couldn't process what had happened. At this point, I'd only told 2 people, which were my 2 best friends, who were obviously my age. So at 18, I told my mum and my dad. My dad, at the age of about 10, did turn into an alcoholic, and he was abusive, not physically, he was mentally, and he was just a narcissistic, horrible, horrible person. But give it to him and give it to my mum. As soon as I told them, they believed me. When I told them, my sister, my older sister, came out and said it happened to her. My mum's cousin said it happened to her. And we also found out that a little girl with Down syndrome it had happened to as well by the same person. It all went to court. Unfortunately, my big sister, about a month before, had a mental breakdown, so she wasn't allowed to give evidence. The little girl with Down syndrome wasn't able to give evidence, and my mum's cousin, at the age of 14, had run off. She'd become a prostitute, and she became an addict to substances. So she turned around and said, look, I've sorted my life out now, I've got a child. And I said to her, no, there's no way. I want you to even try and stand in court and bring it all back up. So I did it by myself. Unfortunately, his wife, being my nan, and his other daughter, being my auntie, stood up in court and lied for him. So this POS got away with it. And luckily he died an awful death. I won't go into details, but I know he died an awful death. But my mum and my dad at the time completely stood by me. All of us. It wasn't just me, obviously. So that happened. At this point, I knew that my body was suffering badly. But I still, at the age of 18, even at the point that I'd told people what had happened, I just couldn't. It didn't even click in my brain what I was doing. I don't think I just didn't do it. I knew I was doing it, but I didn't do it. If that makes sense. I met my partner Keaton when I was 20 years old, and to be fair, we had a rocky start. I'm 32 now, so I could get less for doing awful things in prison. But it's been a journey, and I'd say for the first 3-4 years we were good, and then it hit a rocky patch. Because of my health, I've had multiple miscarriages before and after my daughter. I've had 11 altogether. But at the start, I was told that I could get pregnant, but I would never have a child. I would never be able to carry full term. After one miscarriage, I had a bit of I wouldn't call it a mental breakdown. It didn't go that far, but I did try to do something to myself. And unfortunately, it sounds awful to say a few weeks after, but a few weeks after me and Keaton actually ended, and it was because, and I see it now, it was because I was in such a bad place. And I was being awful, and I put that on myself, and he will never admit that, but in my heart of hearts, I know that he was putting up with a lot as well, bless his heart, and it wasn't just the fact that I'd personally had a miscarriage, it was his miscarriage as well. Anyway, we split up for a month. We ended up getting back together, and within a month I was actually pregnant again with my daughter Tilly. So after about 2 months of being pregnant with Tilly, I noticed that my ankles were swelling up. My husband actually turned around to me at one point and said, "Your legs look like your Michelin Man." They were that swollen. My skin was splitting. I had rolls in my legs, and I was a size 8. There was nothing of me, but my legs, it was drastic, the change. And they said, "Oh, it's just problems with your kidneys, your blood pressure's high, you'll be okay." Had my daughter, and I would say at this point, my daughter changed my life, because I knew at that point that I needed to start looking after myself for her. That's all I ever wanted in life was my little baby. Whew. And I got her. When Tilly was 2 years old, she was actually diagnosed diabetic as well. And I turned around to my husband and I said, "There's no way anything is ever going to happen to her the way it did me. She's never going to be poorly. Look, we've got this. We're on point with her diabetes. She's looked after, bless her heart." But in 2019, I went for just regular blood tests due to diabetes, and I was told that my kidneys, I was actually in chronic kidney disease stage 3. They said it's nothing to worry about, stage 3, it's not that major. They sort of explained what's going on, and I said, "Well, I do have the symptoms, but I've never really felt any different to what I have done my whole life." I suppose for me, they were sort of normal symptoms by this point. So that was 2019. And in 2020, they turned around to me and said that my kidney function had dropped. And for my hospital, it was the fastest they've ever seen anyone drop. I was actually at that point in kidney failure, and my kidneys were at 5% function. So in December of 2020, I was fitted with a tube in my tummy to do dialysis with overnight. I didn't drive at this point. So it was easier for me, number one, having my daughter at home who needed my help, and not driving, rather than going to the hospital 3-4 times a week. It was easier for me to do it at home. When I say this tube was huge, and as I say, I was a size 8, and I wouldn't say I've ever worn revealing clothes, but I do wear things like vest tops, which are quite clingy to your tummy, I suppose. So yeah, that sort of stopped. Now, dialysis, and for anyone that's been through dialysis will know it is awful. The symptoms are vile. My best friend, lucky enough, lives next door to me. I've got my sister-in-law who lives up the road. My mum at the time was she was my main support. I couldn't even walk my daughter. A 3-minute walk it takes me to do the school run now. I couldn't even walk her to school. And I felt like I was failing her. I felt like I was failing my daughter, and obviously that's the last thing that I wanted. Although I actually started dialysis in the January, so I had the tube fitted, they had to let it sit for a month and make sure it was working. I started in January. In March, I got a call from Adam Brooks and they said, we need you to come to the hospital. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, there's no way, like in 3 months, there's no way I can be having a transplant already. And they said, you need to get here ASAP. I picked my daughter up, I put her at my mum's and I went. My husband took me, obviously. I was in there for about 6 hours and the surgeons come round. I was all in my gown, ready to go. I'd had all the meds and they said, we're so sorry, it's not the right one. There's something malignant. It's not okay. So obviously my heart then fell out my backside into my sock. And obviously that took a toll on my mental health as well. Then in July 2021, so 7 months in, on dialysis, I got to the point where there was no point getting out of bed in the morning for me. I felt like that. And how you hear me now is how I was then all the time. And purely, once again, because I felt like I was letting my daughter down. On the 2nd of July, I sat up with my cat who was actually having kittens. And I sat up with her all night, because she was struggling, bless her. The last kitten I actually had to basically birth myself. She was just going to sleep. She was so tired. There was like no life left in mum cat. So obviously being that tired with the dialysis, my husband woke me up and he said, Mick. And I was like, what? And he was really like shaking me. I couldn't wake up. It was like that every morning, but this time it was where I'd been up till 3-4 o'clock. It was bad. He said, Mick, Adam Brooks on the phone. And I said, you what? And he went, Adam Brooks is on the phone. And with that, I answered the phone and he went, Mickey, you need to come to the hospital. We've got your organs. And I said, oh, fuck off, like that. Excuse my French, I don't mean to. I said, oh, fuck off, like that. And I was like, I've been up all night, I feel awful. He said, you just need to get here. He said, you can sleep, you'll be asleep. Just get here. So within 2 hours, once again, I dropped my daughter at my mum's, got to Adam Brooks. They talked me through it all again. They said it's going to be about a 6-hour operation. I don't know if I've mentioned, I was actually having a pancreas as well. I didn't just have a kidney, I had kidney and pancreas. So this 6-hour operation started that night. And I don't remember much before. I remember going in the theatre, being freezing cold, and they put like this thing over me to warm me up. And that was it, I was gone. My husband woke up that morning and he rang the hospital and he said, look, you said you'd call me when she's out. And they said, she's literally just come into recovery. It took them 13 and a half hours. Obviously, I was I was completely out of it. I don't remember much at all for the first week. The second week, I remember the doctor coming round and he said, "How do you feel?" And I said, "I feel like I'm unaliving." I said, I don't even feel like I can walk across the room to go to the toilet." And he said, "You will." He said, "But when it starts to get better, you'll know." So I was on all sorts of drugs, opioids and stuff like that. And I kept having these dreams, and one that was they were evil dreams, ones that I was raped. I woke up and I said to the doctor, I said, "What have you put in me?" I said, "It's evil." I said, "I want it out." And he said, "Mickey, it's not that, it's the medicines you're taking." I didn't talk to my husband, my mum or my daughter for 2 weeks because I was that depressed and that embarrassed. And I think that the medication side effects as well, I couldn't talk to him. The nurse came in to me one day, and bearing in mind I hadn't eaten for 2 weeks. I had a tube into my bowel that was feeding me. The nurse came in to me one day and she said, "Mickey, your husband's here." And I went, "No, I don't want to see anyone." And she went, "You need to see your husband." And I see him and we just broke down. And he said to me, he said, "Look, we need you home. Come on, you need to try and eat. You need to try and get yourself better." But at the time I didn't feel like I had the strength to do that. But I think seeing him triggered something in me. And I said to him, I said, "I want to see Tilly." And he said, "I'll go home and get her." I said, "No, not now." I said, "I'm not going to be able to cope tonight now." Because obviously it was COVID, so we had to go into separate rooms and I was sat in a wheelchair, which caused me a lot of pain. I said, "Bring her up tomorrow." That night he went home and I managed to actually go on my phone and I voice noted him and I said, "I'm going to eat." I said, "I've just sat here and eaten half a pot of ice cream." It's only the little diddy pots that you get in hospital. But I was so proud of myself, and he rang me up crying. My daughter actually came in to see me the next day, and just from that little bit of sugar that I had in me, I felt 10 times better already. And it was lovely to see her. He took me downstairs in a wheelchair and we went to Costa. Obviously I'm a Costa addict and got a Costa, or they got a Costa. I didn't even get one that day, I don't think. But while we were at reception, elderly man collapsed and I said to Keaton, I said, "You need to give him my wheelchair." There was no wheelchairs about. It was a Sunday. There was no porters. I said, "Just give him my wheelchair." He said, "Well, what are you going to do? You've got to get up 3 flights." I said, "I'll do it." I said, "I'll just do it in bits." I said, "Give him my wheelchair." So give him my wheelchair. I managed that day, after seeing my daughter and my husband, to get back up to the hospital ward. It might have took me what would have been a 5-minute walk for a normal day. It might have took me an hour, but I did it. And I walked in and the surgeon looked at me and he went, "Oh," he went, "Are you okay?" And I went, "Yeah." He said, "Can I do anything? Do you want anything?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "I'm going home tomorrow." And he went, "Oh, are you? All right." And with that, I was out the next day. So many complications afterwards, so many, but I can honestly say it has saved my life. I'm now able to be a mum again, which is my main reason for being this passionate about it. I look after my health now. Please don't ever take your health for granted, because you never know what can happen. Has changed recently around organ donation. We are all, unless medically exempt, or if you've opted out of it, classed as organ donors now. But if my husband went tomorrow it would still be down to me as his next of kin to say yes or no. If I could ever spread a message, it would be to please talk to your family, your friends, your next of kin, your even your children about what you want to happen to yours. And I completely respect everyone's opinions. Before my operation, I always said my daughter, and it's horrible to think of this, I said, but if anything happened to my daughter, there's no way she'd be going whole. That she would be her and there would be no other questions about it. Now I think the only reason they would talk about donation is when there's nothing else they can do. And knowing now how it saved my life, I would do that for someone else. I'm actually in, I would say, close contact. It's not close contact. Me and my donor's wife write messages to each other. I know he was a 27-year-old man, a beautiful man from what I hear. His biggest legacy was helping people. I don't know how he passed. I don't really need to know. I don't. That's up to her if she wants to say anything. But I know he has 3 children. He actually passed 8 weeks before the 3rd one was born. But the way that his wife talks about him, it fills my heart, and I really hope that one day I will get to meet her, meet, and his name's Aaron, meet Aaron's children, and just say thank you. I really do. But please talk to your families, please, even if you don't want to, just let them know. Organ donation saves so many lives every day, and there's also a lot of people pass whilst needing an organ donation because of the shortage. Yeah, that's me done.
You did good.
Oh dear.
You did good, and I'm so glad that you survived all that, honey.
Yeah, me too.
You were meant to.
Yeah.
You've got a lot to pass on.
This is the other thing as well. Organ donations don't last forever. The average for a kidney is 10 years. But I think the longest going one so far is 43 years. Pancreases they don't last as long. So it will get to a point where I'm back on insulin, back on dialysis, I'm back on the transplant list. But I think knowing what I know now, I will never ever treat my diabetes as if it won't affect me. They say you live and learn, you definitely do. Yeah.
My daughter was the same. She was diagnosed as a type 1 at age 15. And she was a teenager, and she just didn't want to deal with it. So she kind of fudged her way through, nearly died twice. And then, and now she's absolutely brilliant. She has the blood sugars of a non-diabetic.
Oh, bless her heart.
But she's been through it, you know. But, you know, you did what you went through, no one should go through.
No, definitely
And I
not.
firmly believe that those responsible are paying.
Oh, he paid.
He's still paying.
He died a very awful death of the C word. And I never ever say this about anyone, but he deserved it.
Yeah.
He deserved everything he got, and karma does come back around. It really
100%.
does. And I think that's why that side of the story is why I'm so passionate about being on my Sting team, and I didn't get my justice, but I can get it for another child. And while one child saved is better than none, in my opinion.
100%. And I think, it's like I said, I think he's probably still paying.
Yeah.
So, you know.
And
You did good, honey.
up for him.
Huh?
And the people that stood up for him, funny enough. But
Absolutely.
that's another story.
Yeah, don't worry. They'll be paying. If not now, soon.
Yeah.
But you did good. You did good. And look at how far you've risen.
Yeah, do you
Now,
know what? I'm still classed as disabled. I've got through the diabetes as well. I'm blind in my right eye. I've got fibromyalgia. I have severe iron deficiency. Like there's a lot, mainly the fibro that is the reason why I'm classed as disabled as much now. But it's the fact that I can walk her to school. That was my main fight. If I can do anything in the world, walking her to school and picking her up from school twice a day, that's my reason. And I don't need any more than that. That's all I
no,
need.
you don't. You don't, and she's got you, and she knows, what you've been through means that you treat her type 1 with kid gloves. Do you know what I mean? You're looking after her now and for her future. I remember taking my daughter to the clinic, the diabetic clinic, and we were sat there with people who had lost limbs, and all through poor management. And I just remember sitting there thinking, that is not going to be my child.
Yeah.
And she's 30 this year, and so far so good. So I completely understand where you're coming from that.
I think obviously I got it at 9 years old, but her getting it at 2, it was almost, and I say this lightly, it was almost a blessing in disguise, because it is all she's ever known.
Absolutely.
The kid can eat for England. She eats everything. There's not a lot she doesn't like, which makes life a hell of a lot easier for me.
Yeah.
She does get upset, but she's my warrior. And if anybody wants to, I've actually got a tattoo. She wears we call it a sticker on her arm to do her blood sugars. And I got it tattooed on me for her because she deserves it.
You did good. You broke me, but you did good.
Yeah, I broke myself. I'm sitting. I shiver when I get anxious.
Yeah, that's all right. It's a massive thing. It's a massive thing what you've just talked about, and it needs talking about. And we should all be having conversations like this with family and friends and stuff.
The thing, as awful as it is, you never know when it's going to happen.
Exactly.
And at least, sorry.
No, it's all right. Carry on.
Well, I was just going to say, in my opinion, if my husband knew what I wanted, I mean, I don't know if I can even donate now, but if he knows that I want to, it makes his decision an awful lot easier. And it's not a nice decision for anyone to make if they don't know what the person wanted either.
No. And the amount of people you can help, just one person can help so many people.
Yeah.
And that is, you're taking away their unaliving sentence and giving them back to their families and their friends.
Yeah.
And it's nothing you need going forward.
No.
Like I said the other day, this is just a carrier bag.
Yeah.
All the important stuff will go when you go, and you just leave the bag behind.
Yeah.
So,
Aaron, my donor, Aaron, he helped 7 people. One of them being a child. I think they had part of his liver.
7 people. Wow.
Yeah, he was in good shape. Really good shape.
What a gift. What a gift, though.
We've got a joke now that basically where he was a bigger male and his body was obviously a lot bigger than mine, I constantly look 6 months pregnant, but I'm proud of it. I've got a scar once again, if you go on my profile, but trigger warning, I've got a scar from the top of my belly down to the bottom. And then I've got the drain scars. But my husband turns around to me and he said, well, that's my favourite part of you. And little things like that, they're my war wounds. And
they're your battle scars.
Yeah.
And you survived.
Yeah.
You did brilliant. Bless your heart. I bet you need a drink now, don't you?
Oh, I got one. I've always got coffee on the go. I put one in a thermal mask because I'm sitting upstairs.
Don't blame you. Well, I'm picking up the mugs on Friday, so you'll have a new mug when I see you.
I'm not having one.
You are?
I got green one, didn't I?
Yeah. Yeah, and
No, I didn't. I didn't have a fistula. I had oh my god, how bad's that? I can't even think of the name. I had the tube in my tummy. It's been that long.
yeah, no, you will be having a mug.
My husband's gonna go mad, Jojo.
Oh, tell him to hush.
Oh, I will, don't worry. It'll
All
be
right, Chick. Do you want
really
to say
favourite.
anything else?
No, just talk.
No.
Just talk. Please, if you do anything, just talk and share your wishes. I would like to promote one person while I'm on here. It's not one person, it's one group. They're on Facebook and Instagram. It is called Share Your Wishes. And it's obviously a page. My story's on there. They post different stories. They post stories of people in need, and you can literally see how many people it helps every day.
Can we post that, please? Mods. Not you, Mickey. I'll let you off.
Oh,
That's
thanks.
it. Thank you. Thank you, Witch. That's really important.
Yeah, it's on Instagram and Facebook. But it's just a lovely page. Very, very, very supportive.
Yeah.
So,
Let's hope this starts the conversation.
yeah. Right, I'm gonna jump down and let you carry on.
All right, sweet. Not sure how I follow that, but okay.
Have fun.
All right, my love.
See you later.